Alright, here we go. Whatever episode number this might or might not be.
Right.
Hi there, welcome again. This is
The Doghouse.
Doghouse.
Oof.
This is Broede.
And this is Alex.
And we got some shit going on today, man.
Some real shit.
Well, of course we have to hit the most obvious part of that. Because everybody's talking about it. So if we don't talk about it, we look like schmucks. So, of course, the abortion ban's all up in the headlines right now, right? Everyone's talking about this. Alabama abortion ban. They just fucking Governor Kay Ivey, whose name is trending, mind you, is talking. They're talking about her because she just signed the abortion bill into law. Not really sure when it goes into effect, but it directly contradicts Roe v. Wade. So, a lot of people up in arms about it, trending women, hashtag women's rights or human rights, hashtag abortion rights, hashtag my body, my choice, period. Interesting choice of wording, though. Hashtag Alabama hates women. Yeah, you can't really argue that at this point, can you? And of course, Bill de Blasio just announced that he's going to be running for president, so he's on the trends. Matt Walsh, he's some internet douchebag that run his mouth about the abortion thing, so that's why he's trending. And finally, fucking Pat Robertson, that fucking old guy. Tim Conway died not too long ago, and that fucker's still alive. I really want to write a strongly worded complaint to God.
Why the fuck did you take him first?
I actually saw a tweet from God that said that he didn't know what the hell was wrong with the angel of death. And kind of going the wrong direction on that. So now that we got
let's blame that guy.
Dog and pony show out of the way, let's get to what everyone's ignoring.
The penis.
Well, he's a dick.
Yes.
I think everyone agrees with that. I don't know how big his dick is, but anyway, U.S. Here's a headline. Originally got a thing from CNBC earlier, right? That's the link you sent me, CNBC. Then I found a BBC link not too long after that, and a couple others. So there are big ones talking about it, but for some reason it's just not at all. I don't know. It's like it's just getting buried in the headlines. So the U.S. blacklists Huawei as Trump declares national emergency. So,
but what is the national emergency?
Supposedly, the national emergency is it's over a perceived espionage threat. Trump is claiming that this Chinese company, Huawei, they're an IT company. So they're I guess they're trying to hack. They're trying to hack our systems by implementing 5G technology here in America. That's what they're claiming. That's the claim. So, yeah, he's got us on national emergency. I'm not really sure what the implications of a national emergency is because he just signed it into law, I guess, within the last few hours or within the last 24 hours for sure. I'm not really sure exactly what time he signed it. Let's see. So, I guess it's supposed to be, but they're trying to spin it like it's this ban that they're trying to prevent any country from being able to do espionage on us, but yet China is somehow being targeted for this because of this company, this IT company, Huawei.
Oh my goodness. Oh, god damn.
So I don't know if you're aware of this, but we're actually in a trade war right now with China. raising tariffs on each other and shit.
He just needs to get on his knees and start sucking a lot of fucking cock. Alright? That's really what this motherfucker needs to do. He needs to shut his fucking mouth. It's doing nothing but getting us in trouble.
Well, it's not just his mouth that's causing us a problem right now. It's also his hands, his tiny, tiny hands.
Well, he can, do reach-around services and shit like that. I mean, I'm sure we can keep his hands busy in the slave trade market.
Ugh, that's a horrible thought.
People would pay for it.
So it says he signed an executive order to stop U.S. companies from using telecommunications equipment made by foreign adversaries deemed to pose a national security risk.
Like jumping the wall.
I guess so. The order appears to address White House concerns that equipment from Chinese suppliers such as Huawei could pose a threat to U.S. internet and telecommunication infrastructure. And in fact, what I saw earlier, I think it's the New York Times version of this that says that it has to do with the 5G network being set up. So it says, this will prevent American technology from being used by foreign-owned entities in ways that potentially undermine U.S. national security or foreign policy interests.
Penis.
The Commerce Department will also write the rules for reviewing transactions that fall under the executive order's ban over the next 150 days. The department said it will work across the admin on the new rules, consulting with the Attorney General, Treasury Secretary, and other agency heads. That's how I feel about that shit. So it says the order, which applies only to future transactions, left many questions unanswered, including how the department will define foreign adversaries. That's what I'd like to know, right? And establish criteria to ban companies from selling equipment to the United States. The executive action did not address concerns by rural carriers that the order would hit them particularly hard. Oh, excuse me. Some of them rely on equipment that already contains parts by Huawei and other Chinese companies. That would hurt them pretty bad if they're using those parts. Here's where the 5G comes into play. Mr. Trump declared the threat posed by foreign adversaries on American telecoms a national emergency under a law used to impose sanctions against nations like Iran and Russia. Led by Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, that motherfucker, one of these assholes that likes war. American officials have warned allies for months that the United States would stop sharing intelligence if they used the Huawei and other Chinese technology to build the core of their fifth generation or 5G networks. The networks promise not only faster cellular service, but also the connection of billions of Internet Things devices, such as autonomous cars, security cameras, and industrial equipment, to a new Internet infrastructure. Pentagon and American intelligence officials have warned that Chinese firms will be able to control the networks and have expressed concerns not only that secure messages could be intercepted or secretly diverted to China, but that the Chinese authorities could order Huawei to shut down the networks during any conflict, disrupting American infrastructure as diverse as gas pipelines and cell phone networks. So,
a trade war.
That's most likely is all part of that. But they're putting sanctions on China, trade sanctions and tariffs and shit like they're doing to us. And then all of a sudden we decide that because he has a problem with a particular Chinese network, but Sarah Huckabee Sanders, his press secretary, keeps saying, "No, this isn't to target. We're not targeting anybody by this."
I call shenanigans.
Now, we know that 5G networks, what they're going to be doing is using high-speed but low-range equipment, right? So it's supposed to be, they're designing it in a way that it works and connects networks together, but the networks aren't, like, real huge and shit. So they're going to need cell towers, smaller cell towers, all over the place.
Well, that'd be taking up a lot of room.
Well, it would be taking up room. They'd have to build them pretty much on streets, on where people live. So that way, near neighbors, the neighborhood could get access to the 5G network.
Oh my goodness.
Because it's not going to go, because like I said, like they're saying, the range isn't going to be far. It could be, I don't know, maybe as low as a couple 100 feet, to be honest.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
real short range.
Oh my goodness.
But it's high speed. So that the people that, are on these networks, they'll get to experience really fast network speeds, just blazing fast. And I'm not sure how I feel about that, because they're saying that the high frequency from the 5G network, there have been articles showing that could potentially cause cancer over a period of time. Exposure to these high frequency waves over, say, months, years. They're worried that it might start causing an epidemic.
Well, I
cancer.
mean, we're poor, so we wouldn't even be able to have access to something like this. And would this still affect us?
Well, I mean, they want to build them, as many places as possible. Because, like I said, since their cell towers work on like several miles, however, these will only work several hundred yards or feet, right? So they're going to need them scattered throughout towns. In order to hit this street, they'd probably need 4 or 5 of them.
Well, it doesn't sound like that's something that I want going around.
Well, see, now I don't know if they would bother building out here, but we also, very rurally, we don't have a lot of neighbors at all. So they may not build out this way, but I don't know. The point is that, I mean, chances are they're going to be building those in higher cluster areas. It's
absolutely.
going to be, one of the first things that's going to happen is it's going to go up in places like New York and Los Angeles pretty much right off the bat, because that's going to be covering wide ranges of customers.
You said something earlier about, cancer and shit like that. So, like, how long does it take for someone, say, to get cancer using this type of technology? I mean, would this be rapidly affecting everybody regardless of age? Or would this just...
Well, it would definitely affect, like I said, they're going to probably put it in high population centers, so it's going to affect everybody pretty equally. Like, I don't know if there's necessarily, like, I guess the elderly or children might be more susceptible to it because their bodies are not as strong as
adults.
Yeah. But for the most part, I think what it is they're basing it on the concerns that are had by regular cell technology now as it is. And you know how it is when you hold those up to your ears for a really long time, it feels like it's going to cook your brain. At least it feels like it's going to cook my ear. And it's like, that's why I don't do that anymore. I don't hold it up to my head. If I'm going to talk, I try to speakerphone as much as I can.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, sometimes depending, it can make you sound muffled or really far away. But I mean, these are health concerns that a lot of people, either have heard of and thought, was conspiracy type of theory, but like health awareness really needs to be shown. I mean, like places like Sprint and Verizon, when selling their product, instead of it just being in a pamphlet, that should be one of the safety concerns. It should be something that's talked about. It should be more common knowledge. Know what you're doing, know what your kids are getting into, especially if this is something that could affect anybody.
The problem with that is that there's no money to be made if it's a dangerous product and people are aware of that, right? They don't want people to know, just like how tobacco hid they're dangerous for so long.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, so pretty much I want to say the greater effect of all this is because we have the 5G networks that are coming out, and we already know that cancer can be caused by cell phones. Then you have this brand new experimental technology that's going to be put in high population areas. I mean, I don't know if it's going to cause cancer. We don't know that, but they should be definitely asking that question. Hey, guys, we're guinea pigs. The people that are just living their normal lives are going to be guinea pigs.
Right.
You know, and I don't like that idea. They want to roll it out nationwide without doing any real testing. Or at least that's how it feels.
Well, and see, that's the thing. Anything new should be properly tested before just putting out there to the masses. Especially like if you're a scientist or an engineer or whatever, you know, and you're in one country and your country wants to test it out, well, then test it out there first for, you know, a good few years before distributing that shit out to, you know, other populations in other countries, because that's a bit unfair for our leaders to, you know, be accepting anything that could potentially harm their citizens. And I mean, that's where you got to think of, okay, well, what's the greater good and versus, you know, the greater evil. And we really should be more careful about what we bring into America. Let's be honest.
No, these are American companies, though. See, what they should be doing before they take anything on a national level is to test it at a local level.
Well,
They should be doing tested or controlled tests.
Right.
With small samples, or at least relatively small samples to start with. Because if you only take, let's say, 100 people, and then 20 of them fucking get cancer from 5G, then end that shit, right?
Right, yeah, because
20%'s awful.
Yeah, that's horrible. My bad on being here in America, because I actually didn't realize that. But like other countries, we shouldn't be distributing, you know, anything that could potentially harm, you know, other citizens. That's just wrong. And like you said, you know, testing it on a smaller level, you know, get people to volunteer to live in an area where they'll put them out. And then those people, if they do get sick, well, obviously, you know, it was part of the testing. They signed up for it. It is what it is. This way we know. Because honestly, our technology has gone so far that we can go different routes. We don't have to just stick with one, you know, thing. Sky's the fucking limit.
So the point of it is that he's declared a national emergency. So what are possible implications of us being in a national emergency? And that's what I've been trying to figure out. I mean, what doesn't that allow him to be able to basically siphon certain amounts of funds, a certain amount of funds to discretionary because of a national emergency or something like that?
Well, you know, and what's he going to do with all that money? I mean, and the outcome, what is the outcome of that money actually going to go towards?
I don't know, but essentially, whatever the case is, he's doing this as an attack on China. And
we don't need to be in any more wars, all right? America does not want any more wars. We're done with the fighting. We want our soldiers home. We don't want to keep putting them out there for them to get killed. All right, there's a difference between being patriotic and then just sending your masses out there to fucking die or just kill other people so that you can take over. That's a fucking monster. That's a fucking monster. Wake up. My kids talk about the possibility of joining the military. I wanted to join the military when I was younger. All right, my mom pleaded with me not to, and now that I'm older, I'm actually glad that I didn't. Now, I'm not saying anything. I am very proud to say that those that have died for our freedom, thank you. But right now, our freedom's not on the line. All right? Our children our fathers and our mothers deserve to come home. Bring them home. Hashtag bring them fucking home.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's so much actually going on in our country right now, and we have troops just out there that are just they're just out there to collect oil.
Yeah.
For the for the imperialist society of America.
That is not what our forefathers had in mind when they created America. That's not what they foreseen their great-grandchildren doing. All right? That's not prosperity. That's not honest. All right? It's just not. There's nothing honest about this. And yet our soldiers are being forced to follow orders. All right? Because they're already in there. All right? That's their fucking job. And if they decide to choose not to, well, then they end up getting punished for it. All right? It's our job, the people that are home. It is our job to stand up and say, no. Bring them back. This is ridiculous. This is fucked up. What the hell is wrong with you? Alright, what's on the next agenda? I got steam. Let's keep this roller coaster going.
Well, with all the abortion stuff going on.
Hashtag put your nose in your own book.
But there's also something interesting that, and you brought that up. You showed me that. I actually saw something about it yesterday. I think the protesters that rally as New York lawmakers consider ending religious exemptions for vaccines. Which, honestly, when I first heard that, I thought, why the hell are there religious exemptions for vaccines in the first place?
Well, because technically, think of it, all right, America's built on freedom of religion. All right, so in some stances, even federally, we can't get involved with a person's religion. They have too much power, honestly, is what it boils down to. And it's one of the things that our forefathers didn't foresee happening, or they would have made proper calculations and laws to, prevent this. But, however, that wasn't the case.
Well, let's face it. I mean, that was a more erudite time. They were far more intellectual, I think, than, they didn't expect the vast majority of people to be able to, I don't think, to foment
I wonder
disinformation at the rate that they can now.
Right, and I wonder if they also put into consideration the population. You know what I mean? Because they didn't deal with a whole... I mean, they had people, all right, don't get me wrong, but the way politics stood back in the day, versus, the way things are now, I mean, there's obvious reasons why changes need to be made. All right, just obvious.
Yeah, well, see, the thing is you look at the forefathers and the way they did things. They didn't do everything right because they didn't get rid of slavery, obviously, and they didn't give blacks the right to vote, women the right to vote. There's a lot of things that they could have done better, but
they set a better example.
They left the ability for future generations to be able to make those changes, right?
Yes.
To progress our nation, because they didn't,
They may not have been dealing with the problems, but they were trying to keep things open to be able to combat social situations and such. Like, well, not social situations, but you know what I mean, because social meaning like the word of mouth and then the way that, everything is brought information-wise.
How we interact as humans.
Right, absolutely. And progress brings change, and not everyone is accustomed to change. I'm even one of those people. I don't like change very often in my own life, but even someone such as myself that tries to keep to themselves almost in a hermit-type fashion, can sit there and see that a lot of change needs to be done, or our grandchildren are going to suffer. I mean, they're not just going to suffer, but their children and their children is going to suffer if they make it that far.
Yeah.
Climate change is honestly, all right, out of everything that we have going on, in world politics right now, I honestly believe our main focus needs to be on that, climate change, on how to combat that and start making people change their lives around if need be, to whatever degree possible or need, you know what I'm saying? Fuck.
Yeah, live in balance with each other and with nature, right?
Right.
Find some way that we're not, because we know that we could use electric power.
Well, I was about to say,
that we
let's
can
get rid of
use
Thomas
solar,
Edison's.
Wind, and now even possibly, maybe in the future, not too distant future for that matter, be able to harness the power of lightning itself.
I mean, fuck, we already have cars that can run on solar energies and non-fossil fuel products.
Oh, yeah. Remember that Australian train that we found out about yesterday?
Yes.
Fully solar powered?
Oh my goodness. See, that's what I'm talking about. We need that here in America. We need more windmills, all right? We need more solar panels. We need more solarized energies here in America. All right. Eventually, the fossil fuels are going to run out. All right. We're making enough pockets and we're killing our fucking solar system. People, wake the fuck up. Come on. It is time that we change your lives around. It's time that we start telling our government, hey, this is how we want to live and this is how we want to do things. They are 1%. 1%
And honestly, not even that much. It's more
No.
It's more like 0.01%. That's what's crazy about it.
Well, yeah, especially if you're just so specific on America alone. But if you're talking about like in a world whole, yeah, maybe 1% out of the whole fucking world population. 1%, people. All right, this isn't just on a local level. This is something that's going to shape the lives of our great-grandchildren. This is going to be disastrous.
Yeah, think about a war with China. It's not like Chinese officials or American officials are going to die.
No, but they don't care.
No, they don't. Exactly. They're going to send our people. They're going to send their people to war to fight a war, basically, so that they can play some kind of weird global chess game with each other.
Well, and then you notice that one dude's already talking about how awesome it would be to sit there and have a space. What is this? Their own space platoons and shit like that.
You talk about earlier Ted Cruz, man. Earlier today, he said he was in a chamber, I guess, a Senate chamber, and he was testifying about something. I think he was testifying about. Well, what was it he said? He said,
let me find
shit, what'd you say? That'll refresh me.
Talking about his fucking
pirates,
platoons.
that's right.
Yeah, the
Space pirates.
Yeah, thank you, yeah.
He didn't say the word space pirates, but I mean, he said that...
It was related to the pirates in our waters.
Yeah, that's what he was talking about that. And he said that, and our Navy is basically built to protect us from... the pirates on the seas and shit. So
now we need to have
a space force to protect us from space pirates. Is what he
right. All right,
said.
Where the fuck is the space pirates? Is what I want to know. For one, no, honestly, what this is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but this whole wanting to go to space is because global warming and the way we've fucked this world up. The rich motherfuckers are trying to find a way out. That's why they're trying to colonize Mars. And guess what? The rich people eventually may end up actually leaving Earth to go and colonize on Mars, while the rest of us poor people sit and rot over the decisions the 1% made. Wake the fuck up, people.
Yeah, we got talking about the possibility of... what I said was, I wouldn't be surprised if the rich know it's going to happen. So now there's all this talk about getting back in space again.
Putting more money into NASA.
What a surprise! We're going to go fucking send people to Mars. Well, it's going to be rich people that go to Mars. Nobody else is going to be able to afford to go.
No, well, actually, so they did do a thing where people, I supposedly, and you can look this up if you want, that they were taking volunteers supposedly to ship off to Mars. All right, these volunteers this is a fucking suicide mission, motherfucker. All right, if they do survive, it's just to make sure that 1%'s able to survive. And if not, they're going to keep shipping more volunteers out there until they get it right.
Until they can get, well, what they'll do is, they want them to breed it on Mars. So then by the time they get, imagine 10,000 years from now and Mars has got, all this great technology and everybody that was left behind on fucking Earth.
I guess they're going to have to take a lot of fucking water with them.
And the Ice Age. Mm-hmm. I mean, think about it. They could, see, you're going to derail me there.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
The Ice Age.
We're all going to, most of us are going to die from the fucking Ice Age and shit. So 10,000 years from now, they're going to come back and they're going to be like, oh, fuck. Poor people still live. We're going to have to kill them. So we're actually going to be invaded by Martians someday. You just watch.
Oh, my God.
10,000 years from now, we're actually going to be invaded by Martians, but they were originally our people.
They were our
book
rich
about
bitches.
That.
Oh, my goodness. You inspire me. I might just. You got to remind me when I'm not high. Okay. Oh, here's something interesting that you may not know. Hershey resigns their iconic chocolate bar for the first time in 125 years to honor the mighty emoji. They're gonna put emojis on their fucking Hershey bars.
Really?
125 years of tradition gone out the window for a fucking emoji, man. For a fucking emoji.
Oh, wow. I'll tell you what, man. You know what I want to do now? I want to order a giant crate full of chocolate turd emojis.
I know. If they have those, that was the one that I'd want to get. Either that or the angry face, because I'm always pissed off.
No, I'm just going to, leave the turds around in random places for people to find.
So we were talking about Ted Cruz. And I actually found it. Fuck you. Anyway, so Senator Ted Cruz from Texas issued a dire warning about space pirates Wednesday in support of appropriations to fund Space Force. President Trump's proposal off-planet expansion of the U.S. military. How much money? All right, we're already talking about how much money the military here on Earth have. All right, all that money that is going into the military that really should be distributed more evenly out into, America itself. And now they want to become space pirates.
Yep.
Which means Russia and other countries may follow suit if this happens, which means we'll be having extraterrestrial fucking fights up in space.
With who?
Russia and China.
Oh
we'll be hitting ourselves, man.
We find our own countries in space. That's great.
God.
You know what? Maybe the Russians will move to Mars. The red planet. Maybe China and Russia could fight over it.
Man, Russia is so used to the fucking cold. You get them on Mars and they'll disintegrate as soon as they touch the fucking surface. I'm sorry, was that racist of me? White on white racist.
I don't even know what that means.
It means they're so fucking used to the cold climate, and Mars is so fucking hot.
No, why is Mars hot? Mars is further from the sun than the Earth. It'd be colder there. Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars.
But there's no water.
What does that have to do with how cold it would be? There's no atmosphere to warm it up.
So, okay, fine. Send the Russians. And send the Chinese, if that's where they want to go.
I was just saying that because it's the red planet and they're communists.
Well, they're used to the cold then. Let them go.
That's what I was thinking.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah,
that's right. We are the third rock from the sun. I used to watch that show. God, I miss that show.
Yeah, Mars would be the fourth rock.
They're gonna have to send a lot of water from Earth over there, and you know that's gonna fucking like mess with our ecosystem, right?
Listen. I'll tell you what it is. Giant ice cubes.
They're
Giant ice cubes will save Mars.
But how? If they're already frozen, they're not being distributed into a possible atmosphere. You make the dome effect, okay? And then you sit there and you melt the water. Okay, sure, you might be able to slowly get a small portion of the planet up and going, maybe, but you're looking at a lot of fucking water that's gonna have to be transported.
Hear me out. You take enough ice to Mars and let it sit out in the sun and melt. And
Hey,
you'll eventually have an atmosphere if you take
actually,
enough ice cubes.
If they do take, say, what the fuck are they called again? Oh shit. It sunk the fucking Titanic. Iceberg.
Iceberg?
Take a couple of fucking icebergs. This way it'll lower fucking sea level.
You know, actually, ice would be perfect. Because as long as you managed to take a large enough, ice samples, and once they get out into space, they're not going to melt anymore, right? It's going to get cold.
Right. And you could just drag that shit beside you or something.
That probably would not work,
No.
but I'm high.
Here's something to wake up to, people. Trump's interior secretary haven't lost sleep over record CO2 levels. Holy crap. What? It's the highest the CO2 levels in the Earth's history today. 2019. And you have no problem sleeping? Fuck you. Why are you guys even there? We need right people up in our... Oh my goodness. America. Fuck you. Bitches. Ugh. This is maddening. Just so you know, America, our CO2 levels are at an extreme fucking high right now, okay?
Uh-huh.
Extreme fucking
Oh
high.
my God, fuck you, Washington Post!
Higher than it's ever fucking been in the Earth's history. And our Interior Secretary has not lost any sleep over it. Not any. Fuck you. Just go fuck yourself with a fucking cactus plant. Actually, no. Leave the poor cactus plant alone. Just shoot him up into space. He don't need a space. Just shoot his ass. Right up there. Along with Trump and the other SOBs.
So you ready for my finishing move?
I'm ready for your finishing move.
All right. Trump pardons former business associate Conrad Black.
Why?
Apparently, Conrad Black had wrote a book about Trump at one point.
Okay. And so...
I think that's why.
Okay. It's like, oh, he gave me good review. He's a good man. I need to set him free.
Sorry, hold on.
He speaks good about me. I'll let him go.
All right, so on Wednesday, Trump pardoned Conrad Black, a friend and former business associate who wrote a flattering book about the president last year. Black, a Canadian-born citizen of Britain, was found guilty of mail fraud and obstruction in 2007 in a ploy to swindle millions of dollars from investors in his media company. Black served more than 3 years in prison and was legally barred from re-entering the United States. In a statement, the White House praised Black as an entrepreneur and scholar, citing his many published works. It is also stated the Supreme Court overturned many of the charges against Black and that several people, including former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger, oh God, fuck that guy, Elton John, Rush Limbaugh, and the late William F. Buckley Jr. all vouched for Black.
All right, the only person I like out of those is Elton John.
Elton John, yeah.
And I'd like to know his reasoning behind it, or if they're just taking it out of context.
Shit, who knows? Maybe he wrote a flattering book about Elton John. So, however, the statement did not mention Black's book, Donald J. Trump, A President Like No Other, which praised the president and was published last year. Nor did it mention many columns Black has written lauding Trump. Black has described himself as a personal friend of Trump, and the two had briefly worked together in constructing the Trump Tower in Chicago, the Washington Post reported.
I bet he gave him a handy, too.
In December of 2015, after Black wrote a National Review article headlined, Trump is the good guy, Trump tweeted, "What an honor to read your piece.
While
As
he
one of the
teabagged
truly
him.
great intellects and my friend, I won't forget." Oh, what a foreshadow there.
A lot of teabagging.
I won't
going on.
forget.
I won't forget. I will repay that.
And now he's pardoned. Black continues to write positively about Trump, tweeting Wednesday, "The Democrats have evidently no idea how to deal with this president, and their moral crusade against him is about to be swamped by the unmasking of the skullduggery and chicanery of the Clinton and Obama Democrats in 2016.
Well, all of them just need to go away, if you ask me. It's time that we get some new faces up in this bitch. Some new names. How about some common people that know what it's like to be a fucking commoner? It seems like they all have forgotten or never had a taste of what the real world was like. But I tell you what, until you are actually homeless and you have absolutely nothing, and I tell you, it's expensive to live that way. Having to live off of fucking junk food and canned foods, or going out to eat just to eat because you can't cook your own food. You don't know nothing. Nothing.
Yeah. So, yeah, and he also pardoned, if you remember that Joe Arpaio, that sheriff asshole, and he was always vocally supportive of the president. So it doesn't really... Oh, and we can't forget Dinesh D'Souza. I'm glad they pointed it out. I remember when he pardoned him, because I don't remember what fucking Dinesh D'Souza did, but he went into jail. Dinesh is this fucking super hardcore right wing Republican jerk off guy. You know, his arm serves as a jerk off machine to the GOP, and he's always like putting out documentaries, I think, and writing articles and giving speeches about how terrible the Democrats are, blah blah blah. So, I fucking asshole pardoned him too. So Black at one point, and this is the end of the article, Black at one point controlled Hollinger International, a media company whose holdings included the Chicago Sun-Times, the Jerusalem Post, and the Daily Telegraph in the United Kingdom. A prolific author, Black's books also include biographies of Franklin Delano Roosevelt and Richard M. Nixon. So... That's a political story, Politico story on Conrad Black. So,
a lot of handies going on, a lot of bend-overs and reach-arounds and choking.
and it's always a favor, right? It's these
you
people...
rub my back, I rub yours. That's how they stay in control. That's how their families stay in control. They rub fucking elbows with each other. And this is a long time thing. This isn't just something that happens overnight or even in the easy span of 20 years. This has been something that's been long going. You know, right under the noses of most common folk here in America, because we weren't offered the information or ability of information that we are now. Now we have the ability of information, and people are still taking this fucking blue pill. Alright? They're not doing their own research. They just want to listen to someone that they like. Sit in their own fucking echo chamber. Alright? Yeah, that's really going to make you smart. You need to be open-minded. You got to be willing to listen to the motherfuckers you hate. And you got to be able to listen to those in between. Alright? To be able to see things from all sides and be able to understand the kind of change America needs. You got to be aware. All right. And unfortunately, awareness and critical thinking is not something taught in schools these days. All right. And hardly taught at home when you have all parents working their asses off just to be able to make their fucking rent or their bills.
Yeah, it's certainly not encouraged in church.
No, you shut up and sit down. You don't ask questions. It's not encouraged. It is not encouraged because it spreads like wildfire. It gets other people thinking, well, yeah, maybe they're right. All right, and then what's it say in the Bible? You gotta cut it off the vine. Rotten fruit, you gotta cut off the fucking vine, or else it'll rotten the rest of the fruit. And that's what it is. All right? That's exactly what it is. If we can get rid of religion, we could actually end up seeing a better America. And people,
a better world.
Well, and people think that, oh, you get rid of religion, then you get rid of people treating people good. No, that's not the case. That's not the case at all. We all understand the difference between right and wrong. And we all understand, treating people the way you want to be treated. You don't have to have a religion to have those foundations, those moralities. You don't have to be religious to be a good person. All right? You don't. And this whole separation of state and religion that's supposed to be going on, well, I don't see no separation. I am slowly becoming more and more atheist the more I feel like I'm being taken over by someone else's religion. Oh, I gotta live by their rules because that's what they're the winners, so they decide how we win or how we live or abortions and shit like that. You gotta be fucking kidding me. There is no gray area for that. That is wrong. All right? If we have the freedom of religion, then we have the freedom to not have to be religious, which means we should not be forced to live by their rules, right? I mean, I'm not Muslim, all right? If a Christian was to think of it in that sense, that oh my God, their fucking brains would explode.
Yeah, they want religious freedom from every religion but their own.
Right.
They want to enforce their religion, and that's the problem. This is supposed to apply to all religions. We don't want a theocracy. We know what that does. That's what they fought against. They fought against a tyrannical theocracy.
Yeah.
And that's dangerous, and they knew that. And that's why the Establishment Clause exists. Mm-hmm. And like I said, this is an age where disinformation is the most prevalent and startling. But it's because people don't know how to look at things critically. They don't look at it and say, why is this way?
No.
Or what makes you say this? Or
you're absolutely
who
right.
Who gave you this authority?
Because if they did, they would know that these Dead Sea Scrolls that we're finding aren't as old as people are proclaiming them to be. All right? They're not really that old. In fact, I feel like it's something that maybe great-grandfather may have made because he got tired of seeing his chitlins, waddle around with, no purpose. And so he's like, I'm going to pretend that I found this, and then I'm going to hide some more. Or maybe even other people of like-minded thought, because it seems like you have different depictions and ideas from each person. I don't buy it. And neither should anyone else. And if you're not willing to do the research, then you shouldn't be allowed or willing to force your religion on anyone else. And there are people that believe that Noah's Ark is real. All right, yeah, there was a boat that was found up in a mountain. All right, but that ship is not big enough to carry 2 of every species of animal. Plus the, 6 people that were on that boat? It's just not scientifically correct.
No, anytime they've ever said that they found this or that, if you really look into it, you find out it gets debunked. It's always they push these things on these religious websites as, oh look, this is the truth they don't want you to know.
Right,
But
absolutely.
and then you'll find out that it's all fucking fake.
It is, because if you follow like that wormhole, all right, if you follow that wormhole and you actually get a greater picture of what's going on here, because you start hearing it from other directions. That's why I was so baffled when I found out that they made a replica of Noah's Ark that you could actually go and take your children to. All right, well, what replica? Are you going by the biblical standards? Because, I mean, sure, it does tell you a little bit of how that boat was made, sure.
Well, I'm pretty sure that the Noah's Ark version didn't include a gift shop. I mean, I know that much. But the
Right?
Ken Ham version of it does. And the Ken Ham version of that ark has it uses technology that clearly they did not have back then.
No, they did not. They did not.
Because I mean, they built this thing with steel, so clearly it's not an actual replica. But they just say that
Yeah,
they'll just say it, and then people that don't have critical thinking skills
Believe
will
it.
just say, "Oh, well, that's got to be true." Then,
but
'cause
don't
I
you
follow him and I
know,
like him.
we live in a world where you can advertise anything and say anything, and even though it's not correct, you can still advertise it. I thought there was something against false advertising. That should be more enforced, don't you agree? Because
We can't apply that when we don't apply that when it comes to religion.
that's not fair then, because that's not allowing science to truly do its work.
You know what it's called though in debate? Special pleading. It means whenever there is a rule, pleading for a special case to break that rule. Like they say, like one of the things they said was that God is necessary to create the universe,
No.
and so you can't have something come from nothing. So then people ask, well, where does God come from? Right? Because they're making a special case that their God doesn't have to be. It can be eternal even though nothing else is. Their God is a special case.
Right, always a
So-
special case, though. It's always a special case. Even in the smallest of religions, it's a special case. All right? There are psych wards for that. For special cases.
Well, it's not even just about the religion, though, right? And take a look at
The reason it still goes on is because they sit there and they bring children into that, all right? It's still a cult, all right? It doesn't matter if you have an awesome, large religion that's more accepted by most, or if you have a small religion. It's still a cult. And when you're bringing children into it, you are brainwashing them and you're taking away their critical thinking.
and their autonomy, for that matter. How are they going to be able to go into their adult life when they've been fed misinformation, and they have to, when they start getting real information, then it creates something known as cognitive dissonance.
They don't want to hear it.
Well, in some cases, in a lot of cases, they would just rather tune it out. But when you have a person that actually does critically think and got those skills, either just, I don't know, through development, or maybe they were fucking born with them, I don't know.
Right,
But
and they
sometimes
finally
we're
got
lucky.
the act to use them.
Yeah, and sometimes we're lucky and we'll see through the BS. And sometimes we're not so lucky. And, it takes us a lot of years to get deprogrammed from that.
Right.
And,
They actually have places where if kids were to look them up, if they didn't want to live in a household where they had to live like a very religious lifestyle, there are atheist houses that are willing to take in runaways and shit like that to help them. Dun dun dun.
yeah, and you'll notice that a lot of runaways, they either come down to physical abuse or psychological abuse through...
Or both.
And a lot of times
Usually
it's
it's psychological, though. Yeah, absolutely.
religion. A lot of times it's
Well-
religious based.
You and I both, were raised up Christian. All right. And I'm sure that you remember, that time when it finally clicked with you where, oh my God, this is utter bullshit. But was there a time where you felt, oh my God, my life, my childhood was wasted away with this nonsense when I could have been out there being a kid, out there experiencing the real world, but instead I was forced to sit in this building and listen to someone lie to me, whether they believed in it or not.
When I was around 13 years old, I stopped. I finally got my father to stand up for me and not let me be forced to go to church.
Right.
So, I mean, I went since I was probably 4 years old, if not younger. I don't know, but I just something about when the teenager and the hormones and everything going on, having a social life, you eventually, and you go through that rebellious phase of turning on authority. If it wasn't for that, I don't know if I had ever gotten free of religion.
Right.
Because when I did have questions before I was a teenager, before I was a preteen, it was basically, I was thumbed down. Don't tempt the Lord, of course.
Right, right.
But once I got to that stage, I kind of got this, you know what, I'm tired of authority telling me what to think, what to do. And if it wasn't for the fact that it was happening in every other aspect of my life and not just like when it had to deal with my parents and stuff like that, but, and my grandparents, but I started questioning all authority. And with that came, this guy's shit doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But it wasn't until 9/11, I think, that I really actually said, I remember saying the words, there is no God. Because right after 9/11 happened and all that shit that was going on, and it's just like a day or two later, I heard somebody talking about praying God will be there for the Yankees as like some kind of repayment for 9/11. And I'm like, oh my God, this whatever they believe in, that's not real. What that person believes in, that God, that ain't real. That's not a God. That's not a good God. That's not what I was told God was. So yeah, that was my eureka moment. And I was like 25 at the time.
Yeah, I didn't come into it until my late 20s.
Oh yeah?
Much late 20s.
Well, it's important to talk to people about it. I mean, one thing you have that I didn't have was really a support system,
Right.
for getting away at a time in my life when I needed it.
See, my problem was I wanted to be socially accepted, and my mom worked a lot, and she knew a couple that would actually watch me when she had to work over and such, and so I would go to church with them. It was something that I wanted to do. I wanted to be involved. I wanted to, go and become a missionary. But, after the third or fourth church turned me down because I was gay, whether I had a girlfriend or not, it was still considered alcoholism or recovering alcoholic. And I would have to be in recovery for so long before I could even be considered, pure enough to be a missionary. And that broke my spirits. And I hated it. And I was so angry. And I hated myself. And I felt like I was a thorn. I felt like I was a parasite. I felt like I was something that, shouldn't walk the earth. I felt like an abomination.
Well, I mean, that's how they that's how they perpetuate the system, right?
Yeah.
They get people to hate somebody for something that they've never hurt anybody. They just exist. Just the fact they exist.
They were different.
They create a monster. See, they dehumanize.
Yeah.
And that's what that happens in politics and religion both.
Well,
You demonize someone take away their humanity,
Right.
and then it doesn't feel bad to fuck with them.
Well, the problem was it wasn't just in church. Some of these kids went to the church that I went to, and I got picked on by them, some hardcore, just because of who I was. And, you know, for the longest time, I didn't even know who I was. Everyone else seemed to know who I was before I did.
Yeah, just random.
I was always at war with myself, walking on eggshells, afraid to do the wrong thing, and I was still this horrible person. And even though in my, 23s, I started going to church and I had decent experiences, I could never shake away the bad experiences that I endured. And when I was in Crofton, Kentucky, the last time that I tried to be able to do missionary work, I was 23, 24 years old. And the fucking guy told me, with his wife in the office, it was a horrible experience. And they were talking about how lesbianism was like alcoholism, and that, there was a recovery process that had to be done. Before I could go and save lives, before I could go and reach out to others and tell them that they're not alone, before I could be a good human being, I had to cease being the person that I am, that wants to do good. Because of...
Doesn't make any goddamn sense, does it?
No, it doesn't. Because of who I bring into my bed.
Yeah, essentially. They don't like the fact that people are having sex and having fun. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. Religious people really want to control the sexual behavior of a sexual creature. Right?
Right, yeah.
And so they fill people's heads with the notions of puritanicalism. Mm-hmm. Oh no, if you show off a body part, you're a terrible person. Oh no, if you like to do this is different than the way that I do it, then you're awful.
Yeah, honestly, I think we need more nudist colonies in America. I love the one in Tennessee. That place is great.
Nudist colonies are great, but I don't think I could go to one.
That's fine. But, I mean, still, just to be able to have the ability to go somewhere where you can be nude out in nature, whether you be swimming or, just walking around, I think people should be granted that. Hell, there's countries where nudism is not wrong.
So, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling like a lot of people probably may have put me in the doghouse tonight, so I think I did very well.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if people like our take, but fuck them.
Right. I agree. So very much.
So, I guess in closing, Bernie 2020.
Bernie 2020. Alex out.
Bye-bye.